everyone, Corey here. So I am here today to do my OWLs Magical Readathon wrap-up. Now, if you didn't know, the OWLs Magical Readathon was put on by G over at Book Roast, and I will leave a link to her announcement video for the readathon in the description down below, so you can go watch her video and see how exactly this readathon worked if you weren't participating. Now, I will say a month-long readathon is a long readathon, and I'll be completely honest, I was vlogging for the first 3 weeks, but I kind of completely fell off the bandwagon during the 4th week, so there won't be a vlog for week 4 of the Magical Readathon, so pick this video in replacement. Now, at the beginning of the readathon, I picked the career of Wand Maker, which meant I had to do the Owl's Ancient Runes, Arithmecy, Care of Magical Creatures, Charms, and Herbology to officially pass my Owl's career. I completed every single class, so I completed 12 classes, and I completed some classes more than once. Now, completely full disclosure, I sat down earlier today and went through all of the books I read during the month of May and kind of assigned them to classes today. So sometimes if I was reading a book for a certain class during the vlogs, I might have accidentally assigned it to a different class today, but they all do fit within the parameters of every class. So I'm going to go through my wrap-up class by class. I have read over 20 books in the month of May, so I'm not going to spend too long talking about each individual book, but I'll give you a brief breakdown and what I thought about it. So the first exam was for Ancient Runes, and that is to read a retelling. I only read one retelling during the month of May, but I did read Blanca y Roja by McLemore, and this is a retelling of Snow White and Rose Red. I ended up thoroughly enjoying this book and giving it either a 4.5 or a 5 stars, I can't quite remember, but this is the story about two sisters, Blanca and Roja, and they have grown up in a family where every generation 2 sisters are born, and one of those sisters is destined to turn into a swan. If you know McLemore's writing, you'll know that this is just absolutely beautiful. I flew through it. I was sad when it was over. It lives up to all of the hype, and I think if you're looking for a book that's really going to move you and make you really feel part of that world, this is a great one. The next up is the Owl for Arithmecy, and this is to read a book written by more than one author. I read, oh god, they're too big, 5 books written by more than one author. This is the Expanse series by James S.A. Corey, and James S.A. Corey is actually 2 different people. I'm just gonna hold up one book because those are huge. If you're watching my vlogs, you know that I've been flying through this series and I absolutely love it. The books are long, but they read really quickly. And if you weren't aware, I've talked about this quite often, but this is a super big world. This is a big space opera featuring the same kind of cast of characters throughout the whole series. And they are the crew of the spaceship, the Rosadante. I just absolutely love it. It is an adult series. All the people are adults, and each one kind of feels episodic almost. Each book definitely has its own storyline, and I just have fallen in love with this series, and is one I can see myself rereading in the future. I gave all of these books between 4 and 5 stars, so yeah, a series I really recommend. Next up we have Astronomy, and that is a book with the word star in the title, and I read one book for this, and that is Written in the Stars by Aeesha Saeed. When I read this, I actually thought it was either like a light fluffy contemporary or something kind of fantastical. It is not any of those things. This is quite a heavy-hitting book about our main character Nyla, who has very conservative Pakistani parents. They live in Seattle, and they kind of catch her in a lie and are very unimpressed, and they decide to take her to Pakistan on the ruse that she will be connecting more with her traditional roots. So she is actually quite excited to go to Pakistan at first, but it turns out that it is her parents' plan to arrange a marriage for her while she is there, and it's just so brutal. It's so heart-wrenching. This book has a lot going on in it. There's trigger warnings for sexual assault, domestic abuse, parental abuse. It's just really harrowing. When I was reading it, I loved the world, and I flew through the book once I started reading it, but it was so heartbreaking, and this is definitely an important story that definitely needs to be told, but just be forewarned, that is quite dark. I think I ended up giving it a 3.5 or 4 stars. It just do it all the way for me, but I did really enjoy it, and this is Own Voices for Arranged Marriage, which is really interesting for me, which is something I haven't really seen before, so this was an interesting pick, and if you're interested in this subject, I would recommend picking it up. So next up is Care of Magical Creatures, and this is to read a book with a land animal on the cover. I was kind of cheeky with my first one of these because I picked The Bone Witch by Chupeco, human, which is technically a land animal. So I think this wins. I got the audiobook from the library of this, and I actually ended up being surprised by how much I liked this. For some reason I thought it was going to be a really slow read for me, but it really wasn't. This is about our main character Tia, and she is a necromancer, and in this world she's called a bone witch. And she accidentally raises her brother from the dead, not really knowing what she's doing. And her brother can essentially live a normal life. He doesn't have like bodily functions or anything but he is like a regular human being. She ends up traveling to a different place to learn from another bone witch how to control her magic and to train as an Aeesha. And an Aeesha is a person who has the abilities to control devas, which are kind of these very powerful mythical creatures that are kind of that are wreaking havoc in this land. I really love the little blurb on the back. It says, "Let me be clear, I never intended to raise my brother from his grave." Really enjoyed it. Solid fantasy story. I'm looking forward to the sequel, and I believe I gave this one a 3.5 or 4 stars as well. The other book I read for Care of Magical Creatures was 5 Kingdoms Skyraiders by Mull. On the cover of this book we have something called a scorpipede, which sounds terrifying, and I never want to see that in real life. But this is about a young man named Cole who is attending a haunted house on Halloween with his friends when his friends get whisked away down a mysterious hole, and Cole decides to follow them and try to save them and see what's going on. On the other side, all of the kids, including Cole, end up being sold into slavery, and he becomes something called a Skyraider. And a Skyraider is a person who raids flying castles in this world for salvage, basically. It's very dangerous. Most people don't live through it, but it's a really cool high-stakes world, and he ends up kind of cooperating with a girl named Mira who has a backstory that I'm not going to tell you about, but it's really neat. And they team up to try to save this 5 Kingdoms realm and try to get his friends back. This is the first book in the series. I'm excited to read more. I've read quite a few of Mull's books now, and I like this one more than Fablehaven, but not as much as the Beyonders series, so I would give this a solid 3 stars. So next up is the Defense Against the Dark Arts class, and that is to read a book that starts with R. The title starts with R, and for this I went with Roughneck by Jeff Lemire. Jeff Lemire is a Canadian comic artist and writer, and I just love his work, so I picked this one up on Book Outlet. This is about a former NHL hockey player named Derek. He was known as being kind of a thug on the hockey team, and he is no longer in the NHL. He's been kicked out for a violent incident that happened, and he is working in a small town in northern Ontario, kind of drinking a lot and not doing much with his life, getting into trouble with people, beating people up. It's just not really a good scene. And then one day his estranged sister shows up, and she is on the run from her abusive ex-boyfriend, and it also turns out that she is pregnant, and she's also addicted to drugs, so she's trying to get clean, and they end up going out and hiding out in a little cabin in the woods, in a secluded cabin, to kind of get her on the mend and also hide from her abusive ex. It's a very dark, very gritty, it's contemporary. There's no fantastical elements to it, but it's just, I really enjoyed the story itself. I think if you're from small town Canada, as I am, I could relate to a lot of just like the desolation. Not that where I grew up was desolate, but it just I kind of got the vibe, and I really understood this place. If you like contemporary hard-hitting graphic novels, pick it up. It might not be for everybody, but as this hockey-loving Canadian, it was great for me, and I think I gave it 4 stars. So the next class is Divination, and that is a book set in the future, and of course the Expanse series, being an epic space opera, is definitely set in the future. I don't know when, probably pretty far in the future I would say, but Yeah, so I'm just gonna go with the Expanse series again, no need to explain again. The next class is Herbology, and that is to read a book with a plant on the cover. For this, I'm counting Lair of Dreams by Libba Bray. This is the second book in the Diviners series. In this book, a mysterious sleeping sickness has overtaken New York, and it's up to the Diviners to kind of figure out what's happening and how to make it go away. The stakes are very high in this one. I really love the development of all the characters. I'm not going to tell you too much about it, obviously. If you haven't read the first book, I don't want to spoil you, but I really love this series. And as I was in the mood, this doesn't fit for the challenge, but I'll just bring it up now. I also read Before the Devil Breaks You, which I suppose could be land animal on the cover. So this could be a care of magical creatures. But in this one, there are ghosts haunting a mental hospital outside of New York City, and it's very eerie, and it ends in a way that I cannot wait for book 4. It comes out next February, and I will definitely be picking that one up. Again, I think I gave these ones between 4 and 5 stars. So the next book I read for Herbology is Anna Dressed in Blood by Kendare Blake. There are trees on the cover. This is about a boy named Cass who travels along with his mom around North America, killing ghosts that kind of refuse to move on and are being violent. He moves to Thunder Bay, Ontario, so another book set in Canada, to deal with Anna Dressed in Blood, who is kind of a legend in the area, and she haunts this house that ever since her murder, if somebody steps inside the house, she will kill them. Cass goes inside. For some reason, she doesn't kill him. So he has to figure out what Anna's motivations are, how to get her to move on, even if she isn't necessarily the evil that he thought she was. I enjoyed the story. Wasn't my favorite. Took me quite a long time to get through. I don't remember my rating. I read this one pretty early in the month, but I probably would give it a 3 stars. So next up is History of Magic, and that is to read a book published over 10 years ago. I read Dark Places by Gillian Flynn. This was published in 2009, so it just fits the bill. This is definitely my least favorite Gillian Flynn book. It's about a woman named Libby Day, who is, I believe, about 30 years old, and when she was a small child, her whole family was massacred in the Satan sacrifice in Kansas, and ever since then, she has been living off of the money that people donated at that time to a fund to support her. When she was a kid, she also testified against her brother as the killer, so her brother is still alive and in jail, and they have not been in contact since that event many years ago. Now she is 30 years old, has never had a proper job, and officially the money from that donation fund has run out. So she decides to team up with a kill club, who is a club of people who are obsessed with the idea that Ben isn't the killer, didn't commit the murders all those years ago, and so she decides to take money from them in order to get access to her life and more information, and for her to talk to people from her past to learn more about the murders. So as you can tell, she's not like a wonderful person, and there's some really just uncomfortable things in here. It wasn't my favorite of her books, but I'm glad to have read it. So I believe I've read her complete works now. This one, I think I gave it 2 stars. Definitely not my favorite. So next up is Muggle Studies, and that is to read a contemporary book. The first contemporary book I read was Running with Lions by Julian Winters. This is set at a hockey camp during the summer, and our main character is Sebastian Hughes, who is kind of the leader of this soccer team, and one of his former best friends, who he was really good friends with growing up, but no longer is in contact with. Emir is attending the camp and attempting to be on the soccer team, and basically it's just a little story about Sebastian and Emir trying to reconcile what happened between them all those years ago. I liked it. It was cute for what it was. I didn't think it was amazing, but it's very sweet. And if you're just looking for something that's kind of gonna maybe just pull you up a little bit and make you a little bit happy, this is a good thing to pick up. I ended up giving it 3 stars, but I do still recommend it and will read Julian Winters in the future. The other contemporary book I read during the month was Fame, Fate, and the First Kiss by Kasie West. This is set in the same world as Love, Life, and The List, so if you read that book and know the characters, they do kind of sneak up in here. You do not have to read that book to read this one, but it was kind of fun to see those characters. This is about a girl named Lacey who has always dreamt of being an actress, and she has just landed her first big movie gig. So it all kind of takes place mostly on set of that movie, and she is starring alongside a big Hollywood star, but unfortunately filming's not going so great. She doesn't feel connected with her co-stars. They just don't have a real repertoire. She has an overbearing father who she finds so annoying, and like a strict curfew with her and things like that. And of course, because she's still in high school, she has to do schoolwork, and because she's focusing on acting, her dad gets her a tutor. And this tutor's name is Donovan, and they end up teaming up to solve a mystery because it seems like somebody on set is trying to sabotage Lacey's career. It was really cute. It wasn't my favorite Kasie West book, but Kasie West is just like reading a hug. It's just so nice. You just know at the end of the day you're gonna feel happy. So I gave this one 3 stars. The next class is Potions, the next ingredient, and that is to read a sequel. I read 4 volumes of The Girl from the Other Side manga, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So those are all sequels. And really, I just really like the series. I gave every single one 4 stars. Something about it doesn't quite make me give them 5, but I do love them. The artwork is beautiful. It's kind of this simple world where there's the outside, which has these kind of like inhuman creatures, and the inside where the humans live and are safe. We don't know why, but on the outside, one of these creatures has started taking care of a human child. She calls him Teacher, and they get along, and these creatures can't touch humans or else they will curse the humans to turn into one of them. It's a very quiet fairy tale feel. It's eerie but beautiful and cute and loving and scary. It ticks a lot of boxes. It's a very, very quick read. Each of these books took me maybe 15 minutes to get through, but I thoroughly enjoy the series and recommend it. Last but not least, we have the class of Transfiguration, and that was to read a book with sprayed edges or a red cover. So for this class, I went with Stitches by David Small. Now, this is a graphic memoir, and I realize this is not red, but my copy at home is red. This is Karina's. This follows David as a teenager in 1950s in Detroit, and he has an operation for what he thinks is to be a harmless growth on the side of his neck, but when he wakes up, one of his vocal cords was removed during this operation without his knowledge, so now he is virtually a mute. So it's quite harrowing, and it's kind of like, I'm not going to say more than that, but read this. It's an adult book, but it's just so harrowing, and I just can't believe that somebody went through this. It's also very interesting. The art style is very unique, and again, it's not text heavy, so if you wanted to look for a quick read, this is one that you can fly through, but it's also probably a story that will stick with you for a while. I think I also gave this one 4 or 5 stars. Alright, so that was the books I read for the OWLs Magical Readathon. I know we kind of flew through them, but there was a lot going on there. If you participated in the readathon, let me know down below. Let me know how you did, or link to your wrap-up video. It was such a fun month, and I just love a good readathon. I will definitely be participating in the Newts readathon, which is the follow-up to this one, as I really want to become a wand maker for my career. Alright, so if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more videos every week. Happy reading, and thanks for being awesome. Bye!